Oh, George, I saw it. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, this is on YouTube Live now, and I just put the link into the chat in case you have any friends who are like, "Hey, I don't have Zoom. I want to watch whatever." You can send them that link, email, whatever. Because I know some people, they might not like Zoom for various reasons. Uh, I just figured Zoom would be the easiest high quality tool, because Google Meet's great, but it's not quite as high quality. This is Zoom's main thing. For Google Meet is a fun thing, but it's not their main thing. So yeah, I guess to get started, I'm gonna go and guess that all of you are here or you're coming from the same situation, and as a result, you're here for the same reason. That being, you were all accepted into make school, and unfortunately, that might not necessarily be happening coming up. I don't have all the details. I have information from Elias, but obviously, things have changed since yesterday. Great. Hopefully, it's great for you, but I don't know all the things real time. So feel free to step in if you have additional information. From what I understand, um, you none of you have heard back from Dominican about being absorbed in. So it's kind of like, okay, great. My school is getting absorbed, but where will I be? If so, I'm going to go ahead and assume for now that you don't have a college option available because Dominican hasn't gotten back to you. Um, so a couple of things, like I said, well, I guess not I said, but through Elias, I was telling you guys I graduated from Duke in '09, so I'm a bit older. I definitely was still part of the traditional college era, where and I guess what I mean by that is no one ever questioned it at the time. And then um, I graduated to the recession, so I kind of had to bounce around and figure out some things. And then later, when I transitioned into tech, I did spend a summer teaching at Make School. It was summer 2016. And I think that was before they even started the accreditation process or the college process, because I remember being told the students I recommend, they were going to be the first to your cohort or something like that. So I have some awareness of the college era of Make School, but I was still very much firmly back in the summer academy era. So that's, kind of gives you an idea of how much I know, how relevant it is to you guys. And, obviously, like I said, if there's anything I'm getting wrong, if you feel like the stuff I'm saying is not based in up to date information, let me know, because I definitely want to try to provide the best information. Now, the stuff I can tell you is, I've been an alumni interviewer from Duke, for Duke for several years now. So I know a lot of that stuff. And through that, I've gotten to know the college system in a few different ways, but also being in, just working on my own stuff. And before that, working for others, I've seen a few things here and there. It doesn't mean everything I tell you is comprehensive and, fail safe truth, but, at least hopefully it gives you some information to consider. So, yeah, Elias was telling me that basically last week, that's when all of you suddenly found out make school is still going on, but only for another week and a half. And basically, if you're already in as a second year student, you're going to graduate. Congrats. If you just finished your first year, then unfortunately you got to figure out the back half. Just want to check who here right now has already done make school. Okay, so I guess all of you were looking forward to starting make school. So now obviously you're in a tricky spot because you know you were about to start school, and suddenly your issue is you don't have a school, or at least you don't know about it because you haven't heard back from Dominican. Um, depending on why you went to make school, you might want to go to Dominican. You might not want to go to Dominican. And this kind of depends on each person. I think one of the really important things to consider is if you went to make school because you want to go somewhere that was directly connected to companies like Google, then you need to look at Dominican and figure out, are they connected in the same way? If you're saying you want to go to make school to be in the Bay Area, not necessarily in San Francisco itself, then Dominican fulfills that. Now, if you're saying you want to be in San Francisco itself, then unfortunately, as far as I know, Dominican doesn't have a side campus in San Francisco. That's not going to work. In that case, you might have to consider a different option. Now, of course, the issue being what options would be available right now. And we can get to that later. For now, I'm just trying to focus on what your reason for make school is. And why I say that is because when I decided to apply to Duke, I wanted to go to a school that had a strong mix of academics and athletics, which means going to an Ivy League would have been a terrible choice for me because Ivy League schools, they don't do athletic scholarships. They don't really pay much attention to athletics. I want to go to a school where it would be top notch at or academics, but also, if I want to go watch football or basketball, it's going to be a team that I could really cheer for. Some people might say, I want to study science. Well, in that case, you're probably not going to liberal arts college. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but a lot of times liberal arts colleges don't have the same research opportunities available. And so for me, if Duke suddenly disappeared, I would have to look at other schools. In my case, the schools I knew about that probably would have good academics and good athletics. If I stuck with basketball, for example, there would have been UCLA. I think, let's see, there's Duke, UCLA. I'm trying to remember back then. Duke, UCLA. I want to say Stanford was still good at that time in
Like
basketball.
Villanova and stuff too.
I can't remember if Villanova was good in basketball. I mean, they were good, but
Yeah,
when I say good, I guess I'm thinking like top ranked. And I think they were already good because Jay Wright was there.
yeah.
I'm just trying to
Like
remember,
University of Michigan, probably. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's just when I'm talking about stuff from 17 years ago by now. It's like,
yeah.
wait, that was half my life ago. I kind of forgot. But yeah, obviously, if you're saying, well, Scotty, what about Kentucky, Kansas? Yeah, they're good at basketball, but I didn't think they were on the level I wanted academically. So obviously, right there, you have some obvious choices, seemingly, that I'm already saying no to. So for the same reason, if you're saying, oh, I want to go to make school for these reasons, you want to make sure that if Dominican provides that, then you consider going to Dominican. If not, then you go ahead and just scratch Dominican off the list. I know it's not a fun idea saying, all right, let me just drop it. You almost, in a sense, would rather if they tell you we're not accepting you, because then you don't have to make that hard choice for you, especially at this age. But unfortunately, if Dominican isn't providing the same, if they're not fulfilling the same things that you wanted out of make school, then it's probably best to not go to Dominican. One thing that I tell a lot of kids when I mentor them through the college application process is kind of like saying, if you're going to go to homecoming or prom, are you going to take the hottest person uh, the funniest person are you gonna just go by yourself, go with friends, you don't go at all? Maybe you met someone recently on the track team or in an orchestra and you decide you want to go with them. That's fine. But you're essentially saying, I want this kind of experience, so I'm going to go with that person or not go or go with a group. And it's kind of like that. It's not necessarily you're not good enough. Sometimes it's just not the best fit. It's not the right type of place for you. And in fact, sometimes people will say, oh, it's too cold. Well, if it's too cold, maybe don't go to that school. Weather does impact your mood. Winter depression can be a negative impact on your grades. So, definitely do some soul searching with that, which unfortunately you've done already, and now you have to do it again. But, you know, that's just the situation. Now, for those of you who do decide, okay, uh, without a spectrum, you're saying Dominican is it's a yes for you. You still want to go. If you're not dead set, absolute, you want to go to Dominican, you're trying to consider, I would say there are a few things to keep in mind. Obviously, stuff like, is Dominican, uh, the network getting you into a tech company? Is it the same network? Is it as strong as it would be for make school? You'll be in the same area, so you could go into San Francisco a lot and network. Um, you know, what's their alumni like? Where are their alumni being hired? It's a little hard for you to find that out because you can't just go to dominican.edu and search the alumni network like I can with alumni.duke.edu. But you could probably Google and, if you know any students there, connect with them directly and say, hey, do you know where our alums end up? That's where I can look at Duke on the Wikipedia and stuff. They have this of, list of Duke people. And it's really easy for me to see, okay, what industries are they in? What celebrities are there? Maybe not celebrities in the traditional sense, but, here's a list of Wall Street execs. If I want to do Wall Street, okay, great. That helps. Um, I'm not saying that this exists on Wikipedia, but that information is probably available somewhere because some schools, I know there are some schools that actually have pages listing their own alums. Some schools don't do that. Some schools do, but do your research, try to figure out the people that go to Dominican, where did they end up? Um, for those of you who were thinking yes, and your faith is sliding for various reasons, yeah, unfortunately, sometimes as your emotions settle in, you go from, I just want a place to be, to maybe I shouldn't be there. And that's the trickier part. Start looking into what other schools other than make school were you considering? What schools did you like? Um, for example, earlier Harvey mentioned Villanova. Harvey, maybe you're from the Philly area. Maybe you're just a big fan of Jay Wright, Villanova basketball. Oh, okay, I guess not. But the fact that you know about them, to me, it indicates that to some degree they've caught your eye before. Now, whether they catch your eye again in the sense of maybe you want to go there, those are things you can consider. But the main thing is, if you're trying to go to that school instead now, you definitely have a couple choices. Um, by this time, it's probably too late to get into most four-year schools. And the ones that you could get into, they might not necessarily be worth going to, which is one reason why you guys probably start off with make school in the first place, because you're thinking, am I really paying 200K for a piece of paper with my name on it? Which I'll address later. That's actually a very damaging mindset. Unfortunately, it's always being perpetuated, but it's more than just that. But just keep in mind that by now, a lot of the undergraduate programs you could get into right now, it's probably not worth it. It's probably too late. They've already finalized their fall acceptances. So what you could do, there are some schools that have January start dates. Maybe apply for that. Ask for, if there's a school that has some kind of late application. The schools that you think would be good, regardless of timeline, see what they have available. From there, you can either take a gap year or at least gap semester and work, volunteer, whatever it is you want to do. Stuff that keeps your resume going. Maybe learn some stuff, maybe build a project. Um, you know, if say you're supposed to get a Boy Scout badge, you could still try to pursue that and then add that to your application. You basically just want to, show whatever happened, you're still going, you're still learning, and you're maintaining your trajectory as much as possible. Some of that might be going to community college. Unfortunately, you would be spending upfront, but at the least, community college is, it's a much better, it's a much cheaper way to get some classes out of the way. And a lot of community colleges will let you, get your associates, and then from there, a lot of four-year schools will let you transfer in. And if they're state schools, you save even more money because now you might have great grades from your community college that opens up scholarships that aren't available to high school students. and then you have in-state tuition. And when I mentioned scholarships not available to high school students, um, my at the end of my freshman year, one of my friends got an email from the engineering department saying, "Hey, since you're from this place and you've achieved these grades, an anonymous alumni donor wants he has set up a scholarship, and you are now eligible for it." Which means you have to be a freshman and achieve before you can get that. So some of the scholarships are not available to high school students, and sometimes you have to be in the school already. But that's how it is. There are alums of various schools that decide, hey, I love this place so much, I want to support, but I'm not just going to give it to any high school student. I want this kid to actually commit to our school and prove their worth before they get the scholarship. Of course, there's an unfortunate part of first you have to be able to afford that first year to access it, but that is what happens. Um, that said, the community college route is viable. That gives you time to figure out, there are grants, so it's not just loans. In case some of you don't know, because I definitely didn't know. There are grants you don't have to pay back. Maybe in some cases you're saying, you know what, taking a loan is not a big deal. For me, the reasons weren't as financial, it was more about the networking. So, okay, maybe in that case, you can consider taking loans. You go through that cycle. But I would say, if you go to community college, that's definitely a possibility. And like I said, if you're not going to do community college, or, if you're not going to do something academic, just try to keep your trajectory going for your life. If you're thinking about replacing the comp sci degree by going to a boot camp, I'm going to go ahead and say that is probably not going to work, because a lot of these boot camps, they can teach you for 6 months, but a lot of the material is already online. To get a computer science degree at Duke, you would have to do either 8 courses for the Bachelor of Arts, uh, or 10 courses for the Bachelor of Science. And then you get a computer science degree, you're recognized as a computer scientist, and it's much easier to go from there to being a software engineer, because you have the theoretical knowledge. You're not just coding, you're also considering stuff like big O, the runtime, efficiencies, a lot of theoretical things that might not come up in a boot camp, because they're just trying to help you build a portfolio, which you could probably do on your own. If there's a boot camp that helps you with interviewing skills, then that's a valid option, because they're not saying, hey, pay us to help you build a portfolio. They're saying, pay us to drill you on the interview skills. Because with a portfolio, you get your interview, but you still have to learn how to interview. So I personally would not recommend a boot camp, but like I said, figure out your own reasons. And maybe you're saying, nah, Scotty doesn't know what he's talking about. Hey, that's fine. If it works for you, it works. But if you were to tell me that you're going to do what I recommend, I would say I don't think that's going to work. You do have a big difference between I went to a boot camp for 6 months versus I went to Duke and did 48 months of computer science, or even 60, depending on if you did 8 or 10 courses. And that is where you could say, but the material is online. Why do it at Duke or any four-year school? And this is where we get into the whole question of, are you going to college for a piece of paper with a name on it worth $200,000? That's where, like I mentioned, you have grants, you have loans, you have scholarships that you could already access, scholarships that you can access once you're on campus. There's a lot of different things like that. And usually the schools that are really just a piece of paper with their name on it, unfortunately, that they're very common. And for me, I came from, I grew up semi-poor, so it wasn't the poverty you hear about. It's more my shoes fall apart once, I got to duct tape them together, and then when they fall apart a second time, then we can get a new pair of shoes. So, it wasn't bad. And in fact, a lot of my classmates were like that. We weren't the type where, you see it on the news. It's like, oh, wow, didn't have food. For us, it's more, we just didn't have all the extra stuff. And in some ways, we had to make things stretch. Also, my parents are from Taiwan. I grew up in small town, so information was very limited. And so my issue, and I guess a lot of us as well, we didn't really have a lot of information on how to get into college and all that. So um, for some of you, you might not be aware of the impact that colleges can have. I definitely didn't really fully understand it. I just knew that if I go to a top school somewhere, I'm going to meet people from around the world. And, for me, going to Duke did provide that. Now, most schools that are available, they're not going to provide that because you're not going to have a lot of people come from around the world to go to, say, the University of Central Texas State. That's a school that no one's ever heard of. That doesn't even exist. So unfortunately, a lot of schools that exist don't really provide much value for you. Now, obviously, if you're going to a top school with a great alumni network, they can get you into companies like Google, Twitter, then yeah, those are schools that could be worth your time and money. But even then on campus, you actually have to put in your own effort to make it worth your time. Because let's say I went to Duke for 4 years, I didn't go to a single basketball game. Duke's not going to force me to go, but if I don't take my own initiative and say, hey, I'm going to line up and go to that game, and for that big one, we're going to sleep outside, then that's my own choice to forego those opportunities. If you have Nobel Prize winner professors and you don't email them saying, hey, congrats, can I find out about what you do, what's in your field? Now, if they don't reply or they say no, that's a different story. But if they're known to be willing to talk to students and you don't do that, then same thing, that's your own choice. And maybe you just don't care about their field. That's okay. One of the comp sci professors at Duke actually wrote the Pac-Man program that AI classes use all over the nation. I never really took time getting to know him. Partly I didn't realize it. Partly I just wasn't very interested in AI. Obviously I look back and think, okay, maybe I should have at least taken some time to understand it, but those are choices I made. So that's where, you got to start looking into these colleges again and say, all right, is this a place that would be worth that 200K or whatever number it is? Because with loans, grants, scholarships, it might not be that expensive. But the main thing is, what would you be paying for 2 years if you do the community college route, or the 4 years, and what would you get out of it? If you go to college and never network it with anyone, then yeah, it might be just a piece of paper. But if you go there and network with friends, meet professors, and then these professors say, hey, we're gonna help you get hired somewhere, let me talk to a friend who's at Microsoft, then that's a good start to your network. Some of these professors might also have research opportunities, internship opportunities. If you do well in class, you could be hired the next semester as a teaching assistant. And it's not a whole lot of money, but you do make some money helping the next semester slog through the class that you just did well in. So that's an option. Some schools don't have the TA system, some do. I think it's pretty common now. There's also other things you could do. Obviously working near campus, on campus. If you have a car, it's much easier now to do stuff like DoorDash. I'm not saying that's the best option, but those are possible options if you need to make some money. Of course, if you're able to spend more time on campus, just checking out things, going to talks, just exploring, say, maybe there's a virtual reality setup on campus, go explore that. Maybe there's an art museum, stuff like that. Those are things that when we talk about, oh, I'm paying so much money for this, why am I paying for football? Because everyone chips in a little bit for everything. So you might not care about football, but the kids who don't care about art, they also chipped in so that art museum on campus is there for you to check out. It's kind of a, I guess kind of everyone pays in a little. So yeah, I know it's not necessarily popular to pay all that money right now. And that's why earlier I mentioned I kind of come from the traditional college era. Like, we didn't ask questions, we just accepted that was a given. Now you do have options, but like I said, if you're if you're deciding to go to that, the bachelor's degree route, whether you go through community college or not, if you just go straight into a 4-year school, uh, you definitely want to do your research and figure out, is this school actually worth my time and money? Now, coming out of high school, the pressure is to just get you into college because that's how high school is show, hey, here are our metrics, here's our rankings. But for you, you're a little more free now to say, okay, my counselors were pushing me to apply to all these schools that didn't matter. Now I can really take time and research and find the schools that do matter to me. Um, so I can go a little bit more in depth with that stuff, but first I just want to kind of pause and see. I've been talking for a long time. There might be some questions. I just want to see: is anyone confused about something? Maybe I skipped a part by accident. Is there anything that anyone wants to ask? And I'm waiting in case someone's typing into the chat.
I think it's helpful that you're kind of laying out all the different options. I went to a boot camp and then later, taught at the boot camp. And so I just know the value of having a bachelor's degree now. So it's important for me to get one.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of things that I liked about Make School, the accelerated program, a lot of it is really what I had my mind set on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I'm still, putting my hope that Dominican will take us in and give us the same program. But yeah, I don't know. Things to consider.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think obviously if Dominican says here's the 2-year program as intended, okay, great. You can finally put everything to rest. If they say you're gonna have to do a 4-year thing, okay, then in that case, check your finances. Is it possible? Because yeah, some of you pick the 2-year program thinking I can defer payment. Some of it is I just can't pay for 4 years. I can definitely do 2 years. And if that's the case, then maybe consider community college for 2 years and you work during that time. So rather than shortening the school time, you do school and work together. And obviously, the pandemic has shown that maybe you just do community college from home, remote. So you just bounce between here's my lecture that today I don't have to pay attention because I already know the material and just work on this thing. And then tomorrow I'll pay attention because I do need to. And then I'll work on this thing after. So that I know this is all a really murky situation, but if you can't do 4 years of payment and you don't want to take loans and all that, then maybe community college, and then you pay the 2 years for your junior and senior year. And in that sense, you kind of replicate the payment part of Make School, which I know it wasn't set up that way, but you kind of replicate that payment part. But then your freshman, sophomore year, getting your associates, you're already working on some stuff. Maybe you're self-learning, maybe you do a boot camp with community college, maybe you just do some, freelance contract, whatever it is. So, yeah, what you're saying about Dominican, now, if you do go in for 4 years, or if you're okay with paying for the 4 years, then that's where I would say, again, uh, is it going to lead to where you want to be? Is it providing what you want from Make School? If you're saying I just want to be in the Bay Area, it does that. If you're saying I want to get into tech, maybe it does. I don't know. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying I don't know because I mostly grew up on or east of I-35. So if you look that up, you'll see it. It runs through Texas up into Minnesota. So I'm very, very far east of California. So as a result, I don't always really know the schools in California. But obviously now Wikipedia could solve that real quick. So yeah, whatever your reasons for Make School were, go and see if Dominican can provide that. If so, great. From there, consider the payment and stuff like that. I guess was there anything else you want me to address regarding actually going into Dominican?
Well, I guess something I wanted to say was when you were talking about like alumni and looking at their programs and stuff,
Mhm.
they don't really have STEM like anything at Dominican, and already that
Mm.
like their like biggest alumni or whatever is like I don't know, it's like some YouTuber things like that. So I don't know. That's
So
something
I will
not great
say,
about it. So
to be fair, if PewDiePie went to Duke, then probably our biggest alum would be PewDiePie. Or I don't know, probably,
well, I
but
guess that was the only person, I guess,
oh, okay,
that
okay,
one person. So I
okay,
don't know.
yeah. I mean, I think it'd be hilarious if it turns out, wait, PewDiePie went to Duke, but yeah, if your concern is that the only alum you're able to find is a YouTuber, then I would say at the least you can talk to the YouTuber because, or try to reach out because it's possible that Dominican provided a lot of what the YouTuber needed and wanted. Um, you know, it's easy to think, oh, that's all, but the fact is, not everyone's going to schools like Duke, and not everyone's coming from best backgrounds. And this is stuff that I myself would have thought, why would I ever go to Dominican? But coming from being an alumni interviewer and trying to be fair, yeah, there might be things at Dominican that do work. Now that said, if you're concerned, you're still concerned and thinking that's not going to provide what I want, then and I am aware some of your other frustrations that I don't think I should be saying publicly. um but talking to Elias extensively, I am aware of a lot of the frustrations that all of you have been talking about online with each other. I just don't think it's a good thing to I don't think it's a good thing to mention that on this video. It's going to be public for your friends to see in case they couldn't make it today. But anyone watching, if you're, the stuff you talked about on Discord, I am aware of all of those things because I've grilled Elias extensively, so I do know a lot of the things that you've said among yourselves. Um, the main thing I would say is, yeah, if you feel some kind of doubt, then reconsider your college options. And like I said, that's where, okay, if possible, maybe stay home, go to a local community college or work or both. That at least keeps your trajectory going. That keeps your resume going. You can continue updating it, and then maybe you apply to start school somewhere in January, or you apply to start next fall, or you just go ahead and do your associates and then transfer somewhere for your school. You do want to keep in mind, if you're saying, okay, if I'm not doing make school, I want to go somewhere like Princeton, Duke. As far as I know, Princeton does not accept any transfer students. Duke, it's really hard to transfer in, even harder than applying for undergrad. And yeah, it's an unfair situation for you, but the fact is that's your situation. We're gonna have to find ways to help you get through. But the main thing is, at the least, you can actually use community college to defer some costs and get into a school. So for Elias, I was saying, hey, you're in New Jersey, you could go to community college while you stay at home with your parents, help out with the family, you're close with your family. You stay home, you work on the stuff you already have, your remote stuff, your local stuff as a photographer. You're still near New York City, so you can go in frequently. And that's a lot of growth as a person that I didn't have. Uh, I had to go to Duke to meet people from around the world. New York City, he's already going to see that. And then after 2 years of that, then you can transfer into Rutgers. And I'm not sure how this happened, but most states you would have University of State or X State University. That's the main school, the flagship public school. In New Jersey, it's Rutgers. And so for him, he would be near home still. He can transfer in junior year, senior year, maybe get scholarships. Maybe he has some side projects lined up. They're generating revenue. And then from there, he can say, hey, in-state tuition, it's even cheaper. So instead of, say, 48,000 a semester, maybe he's paying 11,000 per semester, and then knock another 2,000 off that he gets from scholarship, and maybe he's able to cover 3,000 on his own through stuff that he's generating. So suddenly, he only needs to say, hey, mom, dad, can you cover 5,000, or do I get grants or loans? And suddenly, okay, you know what, 5,000 for 4 semesters, 20,000, still kind of predatory, but at the least it's not like a lot of people saying, oh, I have 300,000 in loans. So not the best situation, but that is a possible choice for him. And hang on, Brooklyn just came in. Okay, Brooklyn, and I'm sure you can hear me by now, but if you missed anything, it's on YouTube. You can go back and watch it later. If you don't want to talk, you can type in the chat. And oh, sorry, Kevin, I just now saw your thing. Hey, yeah. So feel free to type in the chat if you don't want to talk. If you want, every now and then I'll say, hey, feel free to speak up. Or if you're like, wait, Scotty, you're saying these great things, but it's based on outdated or inaccurate information, feel free to jump in. My goal is not to be right. My goal is, this is what I've seen in my life. This is what I know. And if it hasn't changed, hopefully you can consider it. If it has changed, well, throw that part out. Go consider everything else. So real quick, Kevin. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, Kevin. Yeah, take your time. Do what you need. I'll have Elias post the YouTube link later. Well, I guess any of you can do that as well. But like I said, it'll be available. And then feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn, and all of you can ask questions. I just figure it'd be easier to kind of address in a group right now. So yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can bring up. But yeah, until if you're in Dominican, you can go ahead and do some research. Do you want to be at Dominican? And like I said, I think the best questions to ask would be, does Dominican provide what you wanted from Make School specifically? If so, then possibly go. And Brooklyn, I mentioned earlier, I am highly aware all the stuff that you're saying among yourselves on Discord. Some of those things I don't think I should say here publicly, because this video is public for other people to watch in case they missed it. But don't want this necessarily to leak out, and then there's a university coming after me for certain things. But if they're providing, or if they're able to provide what you want from Make School, great, go for it. If not, then maybe just tell them, hey, I think I need to change directions. And in that case, go ahead and just commit to changing directions, and then figure out, do you go to community college? Maybe there's a 4-year school. You can apply and start in January. Most 4-year schools, it's too late to start in the fall. So maybe go to the community college or work, or apply in November for the traditional 4-year track. And you just end up doing a gap year, which maybe you go to school, you go to a boot camp, you work on your own stuff. And I mentioned earlier, I personally don't recommend boot camps unless they're specifically targeting interview skills. If it's boot camp saying we're going to help you build a portfolio, then I would say it's probably better if all of you work together. And then the website that the outgoing Make School students have been putting together for all of you, which same thing, I don't think I should name that, but I know what it is. Elias has told me all the details he could. That stuff, if possible, then maybe use that to grow yourself. And with the pandemic, I'm sure a lot of you have already figured out some way of doing things remotely, whether it's school or work or both. It's not the best situation, but it would provide you some flexibility while you figure out your next big step. So for this semester or for this next semester or year, maybe just kind of wing it, not entirely wing it, but that does give you time to figure out, do you start a 4-year degree in January, the traditional fall route a year later, community college, then, junior, senior year at that school, you transfer in, maybe you get scholarships, in-state tuition, or maybe you go for a top school, which they're not as likely to accept transfers. That's just how they've always been. And, just make your choice from there. Just real quick, mentioning top schools, because I didn't think to say this earlier. One reason why going to top schools actually can be worth the money. It costs a lot, but it can be worth it. Um, so for Duke, freshman year, you live on the freshman campus, and other than your RAs, almost everyone else is a freshman. So you really just get to know each other on your own campus. And then you go to class either on your own campus, or you take the school has a bus system. It's pretty quick to main campus, and they have their other classes there. Sophomore year, you move into main campus with everyone else, but you already had freshman year to just get to know each other. So you're not dealing with, oh, I just moved in with a junior who is always drinking because they're they're able to, and they have the money. And then down the hall, there's a senior, and they're just partying. If people are partying in the hall, they're all freshmen. So hopefully that means you're all available to party, because if they're partying, they're coming from largely the same situation you are, or maybe it's a Tuesday night and, freshmen being freshmen. I've had my own situations like that, but at the least you're in it together because you're all going in together. So a lot of elite schools, they do provide and guarantee housing. So for Duke, I think they guarantee the first 2 years now, where for me, it used to be the first 3 years. Which when they say guarantee, it was binding. So my junior year, I had to be on campus, whether I liked it or not. Now, well, all right, yeah, Harvey, we can talk some more. So now I think it's your freshman year on the freshman campus, sophomore year on the main campus, and now junior year, you could possibly live off campus. Where for me, I had that option. So when they say guarantee, it's kind of double edged. It's like, cool, I'm guaranteed housing, but that means I have to pay, and I can't say money living off campus. But at the same time, you're not dealing with, I'm a junior, crap, I'm living out of my car because the apartment disappeared. So for better or for worse, that's their system a lot of times. And then a lot of times that does create a much more tight-knit community, which leads into the alumni network. And then depending on schools, and this is not exclusive to the elite schools, because you also have the honors college. So let's be real. If you're going to honors college, Berkeley, you were probably at least as good as I was. I was definitely one of the worst students at Duke. So just because you go to a state school doesn't mean you're worse than me. If you go to honors college somewhere, that environment is probably as good as Duke was. And those are kids who, for some reason, decided I'd rather go to honors college there, save money or whatever. I just want to go to a school that's easier and dominate. Where I went to Duke and I got dominated, but I still made it through. I graduated. But we all make our own choices. I wanted a place, like I said, I want a place with great athletics. Now, if you're going to Berkeley, you're not getting the same basketball program. Now, to be fair, all those of you who know basketball, you also know Coach K is about to retire, so that does change the calculations a bit. But for me, I didn't have to worry about that. My freshman year, however, we did start hearing rumors that he might get hired to the Lakers. Thankfully, he didn't, but obviously that would have changed while I was there. So, you can't predict everything, but do your research and try to figure out what it looks like it will be and go from there. Now, some of you might decide to skip all that and just go straight to work. You might have great portfolios already, and you're simply trying to get a college degree for other reasons. But if you're able to go straight to work, then I'm going to go ahead and say this might be a good time to just do that, because the economy is recovering. You might be able to take up one of the vacancies, because let's be real. If I say, hey, you're going to get to work at Twitter, but you have to be on site, you're not doing remote, you're probably going to be okay with that, because the people leaving are the ones who already made their money. They already moved up in some way, and they're deciding it's not worth me going back, or I'm going to drop this job at Twitter, go somewhere else, and they're going to make me go back on site, but I'll get a raise because I'm hopping jobs. For you, if you're getting in, unfortunately, there's the downfall of you might be leaving money on the table, but getting your foot into the door to get started might be worth saying, all right, you know what? Just take that job at Twitter. Go ahead and just commit to being on site. but you're getting a paycheck. And, at 18, 19 years old, or whatever age you are, because I was always 19. I was born earlier in my school year, so I was almost 19 by the time I started freshman year. But if you told me at the time, hey, Scotty, you could be making six figures, I'd be thinking, huh, maybe I should do that for a year or two before I go to college. And when the economy slows down in a year or two, then all right, maybe you have the money to do that. But either way, you would have some financial flexibility, maybe even financial independence. Now, if any of you want me to talk about that path, let me know. But I would say that's a little bit more specific to each person. For now, I'm more focused on your potential college options. And I would say probably more this next semester / year, depending on if you try to start January or you just wait one more cycle, apply there, and go from there. So yeah, does anyone have any questions based on all this? Anything that you feel like I didn't address well? Feel free to type in the chat, speak up, whatever you want.
Well, I guess with boot camp, you were saying you didn't
Mhm.
like something like the career, I guess, like interview prep. Like, what exactly do you not like about it? I guess I'm wondering.
So there are some boot camps that say, hey, you pay us, we will help you get better at interviewing, the whiteboard stuff. And I would say those are good, because the whiteboard stuff to get a tech job, it is highly difficult. You do have to practice that stuff. And that's kind of like saying, here's a drill sergeant who's going to help me get in shape physically. In this case, here's a boot camp that helps me practice the skills needed to get a job. For boot camps that say, hey, we're going to help you build a portfolio, because you're going to learn from us how to build that stuff. And then, we're going to give you timelines, you build that stuff. We're going to critique it. I don't think you guys need that, because on one hand, you just spent a year and a half, with the whole world shutting down. You figured out how to do things remote, and the website that or I guess the outgoing Make School students, the website they're building for y'all, you could probably just use that stuff and learn on your own. And you already know each other, so you kind of already have a community just remote. But you kind of, in a sense, if you do this remotely, you kind of would be the community that you should have this coming, August or so. So you could actually just work together, keep each other accountable, and say, let's work together. So you wouldn't have to pay a boot camp for that. You could also just learn online for free. A boot camp does not provide much of an alumni network, which some do, but generally that's not one of their calling cards. They don't really advertise that stuff, because they usually don't have that to advertise. To build a portfolio, that is important, but you probably don't need to pay money to a boot camp to do that. And if that's their main calling card, we'll help you build a portfolio to get noticed, you can probably do that on your own. If their calling card is, we'll help you pass your whiteboard interview, then that, I would say, is worth it. Yeah, Brooklyn, if you're highly motivated, go for it. I will say, we talk about 40 hours a week, 9 to 5. Let's be real. Most jobs now, you're doing more than 9 to 5. If you're like me, you're working on my stuff. Okay, yeah, I can definitely help you figure out GitHub. So, I think some of this is really just, if you're able to maintain what you've been doing through the pandemic, then yeah, you could probably save a lot of money, work remotely, learn remotely. And that's why I was saying you might not even go to community college. Or if you do, you just do it remotely and you maintain kind of your trajectory. And I know it's not as fun, because you're looking forward to being on campus, maybe in a city, just being with people. But think of it this way: you're done with high school. You're now free to kind of just go wherever you want. If you want to go to community college, meet classmates there, great. If you want to just go to meetups or hang out at Barnes and Noble and just talk to all the baristas that cycle through their Starbucks, you can do that. Luckily for Elias, he can go into New York City every now and then. As long as he makes enough money to keep himself afloat, he can go there all the time and meet people. When I was with him in New York City, maybe 2 weeks ago, we saw some people just filming some interviews right there on Times Square. Elias just started recording it, and he was getting all these different angles. And the director actually noticed all that and came over and said, "Hey, here's my business card. Can you send me some of your B-roll?" Obviously, if you're not near San Francisco, or if you're not near New York City or San Francisco or something like that, like me, that would not have been available to me because I'm at least an hour and a half away from any major city. And the major cities I'm near, they're Dallas and Austin. You can imagine 17 years ago, there were not Dallas and Austin today. But the fact is, some of you might be in that kind of a situation. And if you're not, if you're come from small towns like me, then okay, maybe you should consider moving somewhere. Or, well, okay, let me rephrase. If you're extroverted like me, maybe you should consider moving somewhere so you have those potential opportunities. And if you're introverted, it might be easier for you to say, okay, let me just stay at home and do this stuff because I can actually go out every now and then when I need it versus I'm locked down completely. Yeah, if you're an extrovert like me, then okay, you might want to consider moving somewhere with a little bit more energy, a little more dynamic. But it's not like you can't just stay where you are and maybe have some friends in the next year of high school they're still around, or people your year going to college nearby, and you just hang out with them outside their class, outside of your own work schedule. I'm not sure if I answered everything fully there, but and I know some things I'm kind of repeating, but in different ways. Partly is I'm trying to make sure every node of information you're seeing all the different connections, kind of how this whole web connects.
I appreciate it. And just like a comment about what you're saying about
Mm-hmm.
um, rather than going to a boot camp, taking your education into your own hands. Um, I know I saw someone on TikTok talk about his experience. He went to Stanford, got a computer science degree, and he was saying how he couldn't find a job because he pretty much like faked his way through his degree. He was really good at taking tests, but he didn't like take in anything he was supposed to learn. And because most programs won't be the same as make school, as in, being project based and hands on, like we have to really make it ourselves, like
Mm-hmm.
take it into our own hands and make your experience is what you make it, is pretty much what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So for a lot of top schools, private or not, they will usually have the resources you need to make your experience your own. At Duke, we were able to just say, hey, we want to create something called basketball marathon. 26-hour basketball game. Every hour is maybe one frat from Duke plays their counterpart at UNC. A service organization from the two schools plays against each other, stuff like that. And Duke was highly supportive. Obviously, that's not going to be every school. That's not even going to be most schools. But that's part of what I was saying. Look into whether that school is able and willing to support what you want, because if they are, then you can very much, to an extremely high degree, make it what you want. Stanford would be one of those schools, and unfortunately, things didn't work out for him, as well as it could have been. And then, a lot of public schools might have that as well. And honestly, the real world also has a lot of that. If you can't do it on your college campus, my issue would have been, if Duke doesn't have it, then where do I go? I got to go into the real world. I wasn't ready for the real world, but that would have been my only other choice. Luckily, I got into Duke, and then Duke was able to provide everything I wanted and more. There was stuff that I didn't even know existed, and Duke had that. Now, as for when he got to Stanford and it didn't, he kind of faked his way through. I guess, did he mention what year he graduated?
I think he was a recent graduate.
Okay.
Yeah, he said that he actually admitted to cheating his way through. Like he never really did the projects. He kind of just copied and pasted his way through everything, which, pretty honest.
Yeah.
But I think just in hearing that and my experience too, no program is going to be like what we were promised with Make School, but maybe if we keep the mindset of, making projects, using things that we're learning and like being hands-on ourselves, taking it into our own hands, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah. And Brooklyn's already saying 40 hours a week study group. So there you go. There's your start. So Brooke, I just want to address why I asked when he graduated, because if he had graduated about my time, then I would say, okay, we're probably the tail end of, we were just told you got to go to college and we just accepted it. Like I said, that the traditional college era, where now you guys are actually able to say, do we really want to do that or not? You have options. That's great. It's just if he's more recent, then I would say, unfortunately, it sounds more like, like you're saying, he just didn't take full advantage of what's going on. That said, he does have the Stanford degree. He is part of their alumni network, which means once he shapes up and builds his own skill set, then his alumni, they're gonna definitely support him. And that is where having the alumni network is very, very advantageous. So, for example, if you're saying, if any of you are in Texas and you're saying, I kind of want to stay in Texas my whole life, A&M would be a great spot, because everywhere you see an Aggie, they're gonna take care of you. You could go to the ends of Antarctica. If they find out you're an Aggie, suddenly we're in this together. Where if they're like, oh, Scotty went to Duke, okay, cool. Hey, we beat you in football once. Really, we're the last two people in at Antarctica. That's the first thing you say. In Brooklyn, I guess maybe you are an A&M fan.
My sister went to school there.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
So when, I guess, she graduated.
Yeah, a
Okay,
long time
congrats.
ago.
Yeah. So your sister watching this playback be like, oh yeah, we did beat them in football. Yeah, oh, yeah. But that's what happens. If they're from the same school, they're more likely to support each other. And that's why some schools with really strong alumni networks, it's actually worth considering. You're paying $200K for a piece of paper with their name on it, but that piece of paper tells other people they're one of us. I know we're joking about the Fast and Furious memes. Oh, family. That's actually true for some alumni networks. They will go out of their way to say, you are family. You just be like, wait, is this because of the movie, or was this real before the movie? And for me, my experience has been Duke alums. They've done a great job taking care of me. And even now, the ones that, they have their names on a building on campus, I'm now the one trying to take care of the new ones coming out, or, about to graduate, thinking, oh yeah, this is standard. And I meet the ones with names on campus, their names on a building on campus. And I'm thinking, oh, right, there's still a higher level. If I'm trying to achieve that for my career, I can still do that. But a lot of them, they're also saying, it's not all about achievements. It's maybe just, family, this, that, or raising a family, that different aspect of family. So there are a lot of life aspects that I learned from them as well. And then Eden, what you're saying, when he mentioned, okay, the projects, this is where it does get a little tricky, because yes, make school, that is one of the great advantages. Even when I was doing summer academy there was a high emphasis on, we are building your portfolio, not just in the boot camp sense, but you're learning the theory that any of us would have learned at Stanford, Duke, Harvard, MIT, and then you're building a portfolio as well. And then on top of that, the traditional college aspects of being on campus with some classmates. Here's the alumni network that you get to join, stuff like that. We have pipelines with recruiters to get into these companies. So let's say you decide to go somewhere like Duke, Stanford, Harvard, MIT. I'm going to go ahead and say, and I named those four because kind of you're talking about the best schools in the nation. I think those are the best four. You could disagree, but I don't know much about Northwestern in Chicago, for example. So just going off those four, MIT would probably be the best one for saying, replicating the make school experience. Jeremy, in fact, did go to MIT. So if you're saying, great, I'm not going there, I'm going to the other three, what can I do? Well, thankfully, those four schools, they all have a lot of hackathons. They have access to a lot of hackathons. Obviously, there's more than just hackathons, but those are great ways to say, all right, let me build some stuff in my portfolio. They may start a project, because I don't like the whole staying up for 24 or 48 hours thing, but let me start a project. And maybe I'll just go to more hackathons, get help, and build a project across 5 hackathons, because I'm not truly trying to win. I'm not going to break rules and submit a 5 hackathon project, but I just want to do that stuff. or maybe you say, all right, let's just work together. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And yes, unfortunately, it's not exactly baked in to the direct curriculum to build these projects, but there are courses at various schools that allow that. So at Duke, I think CompSci 308 was, I'm trying to remember. I think CompSci 308 was where you would actually, the professors would guide you through building projects for local businesses. So that's kind of where they would say, a business would say to the professors or the school, hey, we want these things done. And yes, in a sense, it's an unpaid internship, but it is you do get course credit. And I think 308 was the one where you would actually have meetings with these quote unquote clients. I'm not sure if they count as actual clients, but basically they're the ones who would then tell the professor at the end of the semester how well you performed on the task they assigned. They wanted you to build this. Communicating with you was easy or not. And you usually in that class, you'd be working with a team. I think it would be a team of 3 to 5. So, obviously with that course, you're building one project, but it might be a little bit bigger. It's definitely a real world project. Not to say make school doesn't have that, but at least that one project would be that. And then 408 was mobile software engineering. And I think that one you would actually build 3 or 4 projects. So yes, the entire curriculum, the entire major doesn't focus as much on projects. There's a much higher emphasis on the theoretical side. Do you understand big old runtime, stuff like that? Do you understand, say, how a compiler works? Do you understand, the architecture of a computer? But it's not like there aren't classes that help you build a project. And on top of that, you have hackathons. You might just on campus decide, hey, some of us, let's get together and build this thing because we're convinced we're going to IPO. If you do, great. But if you don't, at least you built a project. So, Ian, where you're saying, oh yeah, we're not going to get that same experience at Make School. Yes, with some qualified nuances, you're right. But it's not like you straight up cannot achieve the same effect. Of course, like I said, that's where unfortunately you have to put a little bit more effort in, take advantage of the resources available from that school. But usually, the schools will provide resources for that. So it's not like you straight up just won't be able to replicate that experience unless you're at MIT. I'm pretty sure MIT, maybe Carnegie Mellon, and a few other schools that are very tech focused. I think those are much more likely to say straight up, all right, here is that same thing. But yeah, like I said, definitely do your research. I might be wrong. Maybe things have changed. Maybe, everyone looked at Make School and they've copied it over the summer because of, the pandemic. There's been a huge shift for a lot of schools in how they do things. Like I said, I know it's not fun going back into the fray and having to, research everything. But, unfortunately, that's the situation. I'd like to help out as much as possible. But some of these questions I can't ask for you because I might not know those questions exist because I'm coming from, like I said, I'm coming from the traditional college era. Scotty, go to college. Okay. Now it's like, hey, Shrek, George, go to college. Why? It was just a different mindset. I never even questioned it. The only other thing I might have asked is, well, what about the military? Because we're in Afghanistan and Iraq. And for me, it was a very valid consideration. Come from small towns. I didn't know I was going to go to Duke. I didn't even know I was smart enough to get in. So until I decided to just apply and see what happens, actually, even after I got accepted, I was still weighing, do I join the military or not? I'm trying to get out of a small town, and I don't know, maybe I should join the military because I saw the upperclassmen from my freshman year when 9/11 happened. I saw what it did for the upperclassmen. And yes, I understand it wasn't always great, but the guys I did see when they came back, their lives had transformed. They went from knuckleheads and track, getting in trouble, to they found their rhythm in the military, and they're doing great in life. So obviously for me at that time, having a very limited perspective, it was military or Duke. And now it's obvious, well, go to Duke, right? But at the time, it wasn't so clean cut for me. It was like, well, I don't know, because I didn't know what college would provide. So, definitely do your research. And if I'm wrong about something, yeah, I'm wrong. I'm not here to be correct. I'm here to say, this is what I've seen. Hopefully it helps you navigate some things. Maybe there's a signpost put down for you, and then you decide, all right, that's a bad signpost, or, oh, that's a good one. Let me find the next one.
So I'm curious if we're going to take like this self-study approach and we're going from no coding experience to like trying to get a job.
Mhm.
What is the timeline we can expect? Because I think that was the biggest appeal of Make School too, is just like
Yeah.
that, 2 years, you're done, you have a degree, you have all these amazing connections, and you have everything you need to make it in the tech world.
So there really is no way I can answer that question because, and for a good reason. This is kind of like saying, Scotty, how long will it take for me to go pro playing basketball or become a professional musician? You could literally, maybe tomorrow, there's a coach, and I don't know what you look like. So let's say one of you is, you're 7'1", you've never played sports because you're highly uncoordinated, but a coach sees you tomorrow, it's like, look, yeah, Harvey. And the coach says, you have what it takes to be in the NBA. You're just like, how do you even know that? These coaches, they grow up, or not grow up, but they're around athletes, so they can tell, the way you move, that you might have what it takes. And suddenly, hey, yeah, Harvey, like I said, if I can help out, I'll do my best. And, a coach might suddenly say, hey, you might want to consider doing sports. And suddenly you're being fast tracked because Akeem Olajuwon, for example, I don't think he played basketball until high school. Tim Duncan was supposed to become a swimmer, and then a hurricane destroyed the swimming pool in the Virgin Islands. So he's like, well, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll do basketball because I'm tall. And then he became one of two players to never lose against Duke, as far as I know, or at least he never lost at Duke. And now we all know him as Tim Duncan. So obviously there's some natural talent involved. Maybe someone just decides, I want to sign you as a singer, model, or someone just randomly says, hey, help me with this thing. Oh, wow, you're such a great kid. You know what? Here's $1 million check. It doesn't happen often, but you do hear stories like Bill Gates decides, my golf caddy, how much money do you owe? Where are you going to college? All right, let me call the school. And it's like, how's that even possible? But there is that off chance it happens. So maybe you go to a hackathon, you build a project, and by chance, the mentor is impressed because you happen to use the API they created. And suddenly you're like, wait, what? Are you serious? Like, I just want to build the world's dumbest app ever. And the recruiter thinks it's hilarious. And it's the API they invented. And now they're telling me, don't worry about the whiteboard. Just come in tomorrow. We'll give you the ID card. And you're like, what? How? What? Now, being more, I guess, if we're talking about more the average experience, I would say if you really apply yourself, after 1 year, you might already be able to take some contract freelance stuff locally. Because let's say if you can build some websites, right? You could probably start doing that for some local businesses. You know, a lot of times Google, Microsoft, I think Google, Microsoft, Amazon, I want to say Apple. Wait, here I am. Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, Apple. I think they all have programs for freshmen and sophomores. It's not the full internship program, but it's a way for you to get started. And then you can take the full internship the next time or something, and then you get your return offer. But sometimes if you grow fast enough through the freshman sophomore program, or if you're good enough to just do the full internship, then you might be able to say, hey, here's my situation. Is there a way for me to get hired right away? Now, unfortunately, a lot of the major tech companies won't hire you straight up, and they won't even tell you it's because you don't have a college degree. They can't do that anymore. Used to be, they were doing it more as a courtesy, saying, hey, we can't hire you because you don't have a college degree. And what they meant was, look, you literally just have to finish it, then we'll hire you. But now it's considered discriminatory. So now we're saying, oh, hey, sorry, we're going a different direction. And now you have to just guess, was I just not good enough? Or is it because I literally just need to finish college? It sucks, but the reality is most recruiters, they're not going to be picking out, the Michael Jordans of tech. They're looking at, look, every kid I hire, 99%, if they did graduate from certain schools, 4-year degree, then 99% they're going to stay on. I look good. My metrics are good. I get paid. If they hire a bunch of people based on potential, but they can't back up, and then a lot of you don't stay around for a second year, or a lot of you decide, this is too hard. I don't want to do it. Or some of you are just not good enough. The recruiter, their job is on the line. So unfortunately, a lot of them do kind of have to play it safe. And this is where, the website that's being built for y'all, you can definitely work at your own pace. I would say, there is the trade-off of you can learn it all very quickly, but there's also value in, taking it slower so things sink in, you engage a little deeper. But like I said, some people were just born to play basketball. Some people are just born to go into tech. And maybe you're just in an environment where you haven't had that, the resources and mentorship. But once you get it, you just take off. So, you do have some unknowns that might benefit you. And then, most of the time you might say, oh, okay, maybe I'm more the type, I just need to kind of take the traditional speed. Not necessarily it has to be 4 years, but maybe it'll take you 5 semesters to become job worthy. And then you decide, do I want to stay this course another 3 semesters? So Google decides to hire me because I now have my college degree. Or after 5 semesters, you know what? I'm good enough to just work for a local company. And you know what? It's going to pay. And I don't really need to finish college. And I'm content with the path that this offers, at least for now. Then you do that. Now, of course, that's where you want to make sure you leave your school on good standing. So if, say, 5 years from now, you're like, okay, I do need to go finish my bachelor's degree, you can go back to them and say, hey, I left with good standing. I just need to finish 3 more semesters. How do I do that? Do I have to reapply to get back in? It's not going to be the same application process. It'll be simpler. Or they say, no, you just need to just tell us so we reactivate your student status, and then you just sign up for classes. In that case, maybe, okay, you got to pay like $400 to reactivate your student status. Or they say, no, we just need formal writing, something like that. Or we need a letter of recommendation. So, we know that you're still able to achieve what you did before. Every school has their own policy. So yeah.
If you already have a degree, but it's not in computer science, is there any value to getting a second degree, or is it just about getting the skills?
So I would say that's really tricky because you definitely want to have the skills, but then whether you have the degree or not, it kind of depends. Some companies will say, hey, we do want to see that degree. Some companies, they will just say, look, we just need to know if you're competent. And that it's still a Wild West. So you probably could just say, let me learn the skills and just go from there. And if that's the case, then a boot camp might actually then be a little bit more attractive for you. Or maybe from there, you just say, okay, let me do some hackathons. Let me just work with people in my area, stuff like that. But the fact is, if you have a 4-year degree, it indicates to a lot of recruiters that you're going to stick with something for an extended time and complete it. Theoretically, you're going to actually come do a good job at this job. You're not likely to bolt right away, so my metrics are going to stay good. It's just basically, the having a degree is some insurance in a sense. It's saying, this school has certified you're at least this good in some way. And then and it's not just the skills, but also as a person, you've grown into what kind of person, are you a cultural fit? Well, people from this school generally are more like this. People from this school are more like this. And in that case, there is some indication that you might already be qualified in some way. It's just, can you code at the degree we want? So I see in the chat the CSSI interview and resume stuff. I guess I think Elias mentioned that he's kind of already doing that already. So I guess for all
Yeah,
of you,
we're
okay.
in
So
CSSI. I was just gonna
mhm,
say because they give interview and resume like prep stuff like one-on-one.
mhm.
So, and there's even another resume tomorrow, or you can watch the recording, at least for Brooklyn. 'Cause I know but then she could honestly probably just get the technical skills, and she already has interview prep for Google, or will be able to if she scheduled the one-on-one stuff or whatever. And then same thing with resume, it'll help, right? So, like you were saying with the boot camp, the stuff that you value more is the like actual career stuff, like not like the portfolio, right?
Yeah, it kind and like I said, it kind of depends on
Yeah.
what you're looking for because if you already have so Brooklyn, I guess you already have a 4-year degree and you're just trying to transition. In your case, a boot camp might actually be a viable path because you already have your alumni network. You already have connections to various professors, or you can say, hey, I went to this school. So then they email professors from that school and say, do you have contacts in the tech industry? Where a lot of people that are trying to replace their 4-year experience with the bootcamp experience, they miss out on a lot of things that if you already got your 4-year degree, you already have. You just don't have the skills and the portfolio. In that case, the general bootcamp might help. Now, even then, you might just say, you know what, let me just work with everyone here, build my own projects. And then the only boot camp I do is the interview boot camp. And that I would say that's definitely a worthy investment unless you're able to just practice on your own, which you could do. There are books like Cracking the Coding Interview. I don't think I have it near me anywhere, but if you Google, you should be able to find. I remember it's a green book. It's a pretty thick book, but it's very comprehensive. Think of it as, here's a book with all the different basketball moves you need to know for the NBA. If you know that book, then you can probably do the interview. Obviously, you got to go and practice it, but a lot of times, you've gotten practice from the SAT or just here's this killer high school class. You have some kind of practice. You just got to apply it in this direction. Yeah, a tutor for programming is possible. That could be cheaper than boot camps. And the quality, you could also then say, okay, maybe if I'm paying more than a boot camp, well, then the quality hopefully is that much better. And it's one-on-one instruction versus, hey, I'm in there kind of, lots of people to one instructor. You could probably set your schedule a little more easily. A boot camp might say it's 9 to 5, and you're saying, well, I'm definitely not a morning person. So, hey, tutor, come over at 5 p.m. and we'll do 5 to 9. So, definitely those are some options out there. I guess if everyone doesn't mind me asking, I guess where is everyone located? And you don't have to answer, but if you want to type into the chat, if you don't, then just don't type it.
Well, I'm in Michigan, kind of near
Okay.
Grand Rapids. If you know where that is, it's 2 hours from Chicago.
Okay, I know you're also about 2 hours away from Ann Arbor, right?
Yeah, kind of
Okay,
around that.
okay. So the good thing is, well, okay, I don't know if college hackathons are on site yet, but you're close enough where you could just drive to UMich for MHacks, and that could be a great way to network with people, meet some people from companies, mentors, and at least say, all right, here's a 48-hour event. It's a little easier to go and build a project. If you win, great. If not, at the least you can say, hey, here's something on my portfolio. Brooklyn, you say Hawaii, like Oahu or
Hilo.
Hilo? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure Hilo, I'm pretty sure they have some comp sci stuff. So you could probably at least go onto campus and just kind of, hop in and out, maybe audit some classes.
Okay.
Now, I don't know for sure their policy because I know, for example, at Duke, if we saw someone hop into our classes and you did not look like a college student, we would just be like, we know you're not from here. And the professors would probably call you out. But in your case, like all of us, even myself, I definitely would look like, oh, he might have, gone somewhere before college by now. But we all look like we could be from campus. Just we don't know that person, but maybe they're new to the major. And I'm not recommending you do that, but you could access that environment to some degree and maybe just say, okay, yeah. And then Eden for Georgia State, I think, let me confirm, is Georgia State the Panthers? If it is, it's the school I'm thinking of. Okay, yeah. I know Georgia State has some decent comp sci, and then yeah, Steve Jobs did that. Now obviously, being kind of the right look for that age group, it helped a lot. Now if you're talking about like the big lectures, that helps a lot more, because then it's easier to hide in the crowd. Now if you're walking into a course of like 20 people, then the instructor might be like, where were you the past 5 lectures? And it's like, I transferred in. No, you didn't, because you can't transfer in anymore. But so Eden, I would definitely check with Georgia State. They might, I remember they have some kind of joint program with Georgia Tech. And if they do, then it might be worth just go ahead and lock in your spot with Georgia State, have access to Georgia Tech, rather than waiting to find out if DU gets back to you or not. And then Georgia Track, you don't have to tell me your location. It's just, hopefully the stuff that I mentioned just now, you can extrapolate to some degree. What would you do in your location? Like I told you, for Elias being near I keep saying San Francisco, for Elias being near New York City, there is a bit of that. And, obviously it's going to be different person to person. Are you extremely extroverted like me? Are you somewhat extroverted? Are you introverted? Are you highly motivated on your own, or do you need kind of a group? These are hard questions to answer right now. It's just the kind of thing you get to know yourself better as you get older, but hopefully you're able to kind of figure out that stuff, and from there be able to say, okay, what do I need to do, for my potential future, at least this semester or school year. And, hopefully that gives you time and clarity for your next step. So real quick, how many people are still considering Dominican?
I'm considering it, as long as it's the same program that I signed up for.
Okay.
The 2-year thing, the same teachers, the same kind of curriculum.
Okay. And then Brooklyn, I guess, ditto, you mean the exact same thing. Harvey, when you say kind of, what do you mean by kind of? Like you're...
Well, I think there's so many like variables with it that I don't know. It really depends.
Okay.
I think it really depends. Like the big thing about make school is like career opportunity and connections with it. So
okay.
kind of.
So I guess the main thing is it's not about being in the Bay Area, which is a plus, but it's very much specifically, at least for all of you and possibly your classmates, it sounds like it was very specifically the 2-year program. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I would say Eden and anyone else who have a backup, Eden, in your case, Georgia State, go ahead and tonight, go ahead and start writing some emails to Georgia State, set up meetings in person or phone calls, or just call them in the morning. Just start saying, hey, there is a chance that my current college option doesn't work out and I need to come in. What are your deadlines? Because if they're saying you need to know by end of day, July 21st, tomorrow, then it might be worth you saying, all right, let me call Dominican real quick and say, hey, Dominican, I need to know right now, are you going to accept me? If not, I'm straight up committing to Georgia State right away, and just be done with that. So all of you, if you're able to figure out if you're back up to make school, sorry, let me rephrase. If you're back up to the 2-year program, regardless of who's doing it, if your backup is still available, find out their deadlines, what you need to do, and possibly just go ahead and lock it in and say, hey, the 2-year thing, that would have been great, but it's too late. I can't wait any longer. It sucks to be the one to make that decision, but at Yeah, classes are filling up. I think by now all the incoming freshmen for Duke have also picked their classes. So, some of these schools are already saying, yeah, you can come in, but you might not be able to take the full, a full semester. You might be just doing, say, 2 courses, and suddenly you have a lot of free time, which might be good. You do a lot of other things on the side, but, but yeah, you do want to be clear and say if there's a backup, then maybe you just go ahead and just take that option, because I know if, let's say, if Duke were to absorb a school, I know they would have worked 24/7, overnight, overtime, hyperdrive to get information out as quickly as possible and say, hey, this is what's going on. Are we going to accept you or not? Because before we merged or absorbed the school, we already made those decisions. So as soon as it was finalized, everyone's being notified very, very far in advance. Everyone is being told clean cut, what do you do? Click yes, click no, or whatever. And unfortunately, you're not in that situation. So hopefully it comes out quick. But, um, you know, because of that, go ahead and reach out to your backup choices like Eden for Georgia State. Just say, hey, look, I need to consider coming here instead. So I need to know, when do you need my final decision? What do I have to do? And, yeah, Brooklyn, you're welcome. Definitely anyone who is, if you're in that position, go ahead and, try to lock in a possibility, your backup, or just say, look, I have to make a choice right now. So I just do that. So, if you're one to wait it out because you're saying it doesn't work, I'll just do whatever I want, then, you kind of go back to the start of the video where I was saying, hey, just, community college, work on your own, just whatever you want, you definitely have a lot of possibilities. You are able to access the real world much more than you could in high school. Now, of course, the issue is how do you navigate it? And that's where hopefully my information helps. But at least for now, it sounds like it's a very specific situation. Either Dominican continues to offer the 2-year program, or you look for something else. In that case, hopefully the information I provided helps. And if you have more questions, feel free to ask. All right. So I know I told everyone 6 to 8 Central. I'm not thinking we have to go to 8. It's more I'm available until 8, and then obviously afterwards, LinkedIn, stuff like that, you can hit me up. But I guess, does anyone have questions, other concerns? We can keep talking. I just want to see if there's anything else that, for the last 26 minutes ish, if there's anything else that anyone wants to talk about.
I guess with Duke, you were saying, I guess I'm just wondering now, how did you get in?
I would not
Okay.
recommend what I did, because I'm coming from the most clueless possible position, but I'll go and tell you, because there might be some worth in this. So okay, let's say I'm the same age as you, coming out of high school. Or sorry, not the same age as you. Let's say this is my the summer after my junior year, right? Right now, I'm doing the first thing in my life that I think was actually significant. I started in February organizing a summer basketball league, because my mom had told me, you are going to do some kind of science boot camp at Baylor. And I was like, I don't like Baylor. I moved here right before high school. Why do I like this school? And Baylor, I don't think is worth it. It's trash. All I care about is, oh, how Christian are we? And I was already very disillusioned, not with the religion, I still believe, but I was very disillusioned with the organizational aspect, and, just kind of the hypocrisy I saw. So obviously I was like, no, I'm going to go play basketball. I want to go to the NBA, AAU, stuff like that. And I can't do that. Well, I need to have my own league. I need to practice somewhere. And I go to gyms. I ask them, hey, what can I do? And they say, hey, you need to pay for gym memberships or for a league or to join a league. I'm thinking, you're trying to fleece me. I'm a high school student. You're cheating me. Basketball should be free for everyone. This is highway robbery. So I'm mad. I decide, well, screw the system. I'm going to create my own league and I'm going to have people pay me. So I set that whole thing up and eventually decided, I kind of don't want to take money from people, just enough to cover costs. Maybe, like every team is going to get a certain color shirt. So we'll order shirts, but I kind of don't want to make everyone pay money because I didn't want to pay money either. How much money are we going to have? How much are they going to have? So it's basically just, look, everyone, you do have to pay, I think it was like $25 for the shirts. But, beyond that, look, we're just going to be as free as possible. So I went to the gyms thinking, all right, I'm going to walk in. I'm all cocky. It's like, I create a basketball league and they're going to get mad. They're going to call the cops on me. And the cops be like, we don't know what law he broke, but he's just being so smug. We got to arrest him for something. And I was like, yeah, might as well. Because, if everyone's going to try to cheat me, I'm going to cheat you back. So I walk in, hey, what's up? I create a basketball league. Look at all the signups, checks from everyone. Yeah, we still used to use checks at the time. So I was like, all right, just letting you know, I don't have to pay you anymore. There's like, oh, that's great. How can we help out? We can help you recruit refs. Do you want some free gym time? Between the kids camp and the adult summer league, maybe you can use the court for free for 3 hours. I'm like, wait, no, you're supposed to be mad at me. Like I'm cheating out of money and you should be arresting me for something. And there's like, this is wonderful. Hey, maybe you could put the word out, maybe get some inner city kids off the streets. We have a lot of kids who come in, they don't really have anything to do. And then, some of the leagues or some of the gyms that were attached to churches or they had kind of that mission, they were saying, hey, maybe like upward basketball for kids where they have prayers and, talk about scripture. Maybe during halftime, we can have a little bit of that. And I was like, well, it's actually not a bad idea because, I think a lot of lessons that come from how to be Christ-like actually do involve, sportsmanship, maybe not in the same way, but, there is that element of how do I treat others well, whether it's for sports or for religion or just because, whatever. So I thought, okay, I do believe, so that'd be good for, kind of, my service through faith, but also, it'd be good for the community. So about this time, I'm deep into the league, sneaking off Baylor campus because we weren't supposed to leave. But obviously I was like, no, screw that. I'm leaving. So I'd be sneaking off campus to go run the league for 3 hours every Monday. So I guess not today. It would have been yesterday. And by this time I would have had a lot of inner city kids. They would just come in and jump on any team because, we can't enforce anything. So I would say the only thing is, look, at the least, bring shirts that match a color. So it's not like there's the green team playing the yellow team, but there's a guy wearing blue and it's like, wait, which team is he on? Just at least bring that color. Or if you can't, I'm not going to make it hard, just, a bandana, just anything to indicate you're on that color. And some of the teams were like, look, man, when I come off the court, I'll just give them my shirt, so we're all guys. Well, or I guess the guys, they're like, look, I'll just take my shirt off. He can wear my shirt. We'll just swap back and forth. Well, okay, at least while he's on the court, we know pass to him or don't pass to him. And from there, it's like, all right, hey, team captains, I already set up the phone tree for you and the vice captains to contact your teams about practice and game times. Well, how about, let's set up an extra vice captain. That person is in charge of calling the inner city kids because as opposed to, handling a larger team of 10, that person maybe only has to call 1 or 2 people, figure out how to tell them practice time, game time. And then, I help them coordinate your buses from the inner city areas into this gym. So it was basically, once a week, got them off campus or off the streets onto campus. And then about a month or maybe 2 from now, I'll have a friend say, he's actually still a close friend and he's a pastor in the LA area. Now he's one of the few pastors, if he just comes up and says, give me money, I would say, no doubt, I trust you. You're just kind of giving you a sense of, the kind of character he is. So, and I'm not trying to push religion. I'm just saying in my context, that's what happened. But yeah, he was the guy who said, you're talking about Duke all the time for basketball. Why don't you just apply there? I mean, who creates a basketball league ever? And you did it as a high school junior. I was like, wait, you're right. Because I had kind of already known I was smarter than everyone else, but I had no way to gauge it. I thought it was just more, oh, people are just studying hard to get straight A's. I'm just being lazy and not studying. I'm still getting straight A's. I didn't realize that it was, I didn't have to study. I would skip class. I would sleep through class and still just know the stuff. And they were studying to keep up. I thought they were just trying hard, trying too hard, but I thought that they were capable of getting straight A's like me anyways. Some of them probably were, but the vast majority, I just never realized that I was that far ahead of everyone. And I know that's kind of bragging, but that is one reason why I've been running all these hackathons online and stuff, because I view it as, if I'm born with that brain, I should give back in some way. So I try to create opportunities for others. But it is an actual fact for me that I was born with that brain. And as a result, I never realized I was that much smarter. Then when my friend pointed out the basketball league thing, I realized, wait a minute, maybe I could get into Duke, because I had no way to gauge that I was possibly Duke talent. I only knew, okay, I might be honors college UT. I might be getting a full ride somewhere. But there's a difference between that and maybe I can go to Duke. So anyways, when it was time to apply, and like I said, he's going to point that out to me a month or two from now. So August, September. And then I'm not going to apply until November because I was not doing the smart thing. During that time, I was getting stuff from all these schools recruiting me to apply. And I was thinking, okay, I've never heard of you. So you're definitely not a top school. I don't see you on ESPN. You're definitely not a top academic program or athletic program. By this time, or I guess by October, maybe the season has started in early November, but the either preseason rankings or the early season rankings had come out. Duke was number one for that year. The shooting guard was the kind of guy that I wanted to learn from. I actually improved my game just studying his game and copying him. And then US News came out and said Duke that year, at the time, Duke was ranked number 3. It was something like Harvard, Princeton, Duke, Stanford, but I forgot the order, but it was like Harvard, then number 2, then Duke. So I was thinking, okay, the original intent was who's in the top 25 for both. No one other than Duke. And it wasn't just top 25 for both. Duke was top 3 for both. So Duke was a front runner from the start. But all the schools are sending me stuff talking about, what the schools are good at. We have these championships, we have Olympians, we have these academic programs. And I was just like, okay, that's great. But every school sounds the same. They're all telling me they're good at everything.
Yeah, they're like trying to sell you their
thing. And not to say that I'll not say that Duke is the only one that's honest, because I'm sure every year everyone does different things, and maybe they had 5 pamphlets. I happen to keep getting the ones. Our school is awesome, but I noticed I wasn't getting anything from Duke. Maybe Duke TIP mail, and it felt like when I moved from Arkansas, it happened so quickly that I'll admit I probably still have some lingering trauma from that, but it definitely felt like Duke was keeping up with me my whole life, even though they were sending me stuff that they sent to everyone generically. But for me, it did feel like, okay, they still know my address. I never told anyone. I didn't have a chance to tell them when I moved, but they kept sending me mail. And then eventually they sent me their first recruitment thing. And it was another pamphlet. I opened it up, or I opened the envelope, I pull it up, and I see, students dressed really nicely, basketball players on cover. I'm thinking this is just another pamphlet saying Duke has these awards, Duke has these professors. And by this point, I was really disillusioned. I just was like, I don't want to look at these things. Maybe, I don't know. At this time, I don't think we had gotten Saddam yet. And like I said, coming from, Central Texas, kind of that background, it was actually a strong consideration. So I was thinking, I don't know, my grandfather fought against the Japanese and the communists in World War II. And, coming from Taiwan, all my male relatives had served or were about to serve conscription. It it'd be a good family tradition to keep going. And I watched Band of Brothers. I figured I want to be like my grandfather, joining the Army instead of the Marine Corps or the Air Force or the Navy. And by chance, I can do something like paratroopers. That'd be pretty cool. And, you know, so I'm talking to military recruiters as well. And then at some point, I'm just kind of, I probably should just start throwing these things out. So I'll just look one more time. All right, Emory says this. I don't care. Stanford says they have Olympians. Yeah, they became Olympians without you. I don't care. Harvard says this. Harvard, you don't even have sports. What? How do you pronounce this school? I don't care. Throw it out. And then I got to Duke, and I'm just like, I really thought that this would be cool, but they're probably just saying the same thing. Well, I don't know. I just opened it up, and I was amazed because when I read through it, the only mention about Duke's accomplishments were when our students camp out to watch our basketball team. After that, it was they're trying to find ways to organize trips over the summer to dig wells in Uganda, feed the homeless through canned food drives. This is the environment you'll be in. This is what our students are doing, and we're proud of them because they're doing their best, and that's all we're asking. Just be you, do your best, and we hope you enjoy being here. And I was like, wait, they don't even mention how many championships. They don't even mention that they have championships. They just mention they're watching the basketball team, and they're mentioning more in the sense of, oh yeah, Harvey, you're best friends with the pitcher. Eden, your brother is the star soccer player. George, you are on the basketball team in Strack. You literally just won medals, and we're all just showing up because, oh yeah, you're my classmate, or I don't know, you're my neighbor. I don't know what else to do. It was just, we're all just doing it because we're classmates. It didn't feel like they were anything better or anything. It was just by chance these activities actually were happening in the camp out area where we would stay for basketball games. Now, if it was the football team, they would say watching the football team, when you're tailgating or whatever, you're doing these things. But they're simply stating fact. When you're camping out for basketball teams, that's a lot of times, that's when the Duke students were planning these things for the summer, or, canned food drives because it was winter time. And I was like, wait, this school is not telling me what they're good at, because I already know from US News and ESPN, I know from watching TV, they're just telling me, hey, come by and do whatever you want. We're just saying, be a good person, do your thing. And I was like, maybe I want to be there, because I already knew about the, US News stuff, ESPN. I already knew that it's the kind of school where people around the world, different religions, different backgrounds. I'll go and admit I did not know about LGBT at the time. I mean, I knew that stuff existed, but I had no idea what it meant. But I figured, well, if it turns out I'm gay, I better go find that out on campus, right? I had a very weird idea, or I guess maybe a lot of us did, but we just didn't understand. I was like, well, I don't know. If I'm gay, I better find out, because I didn't date in high school. I wasn't interested. So maybe I'm gay, and it turns out, no, I'm not. But, I just didn't care about dating, apparently. But yeah, for me, it's like, I better go figure this stuff out. And then, the big thing was seeing Duke was saying, just be you and go from there. We'll be proud of you. And in fact, we're already proud of you for trying to do what you can, not what you're going to do. We're just saying, be you and do that. So I was like, all right, that sealed it. I did the stupid thing of only applying to one school. Thankfully, I got in. Then it was like, oh, crap. Do we have money? Do I have scholarships? Thankfully, I got enough of all that. But yeah, that was my whole story of how I went from basically, summer after junior year to, being clueless and possibly, shipping off to Afghanistan or Iraq to, all right, I'm going to be a Duke Blue Devil. And yeah, there's a lot of things I learned socially along the way. For example, there was a term, I don't want to say it on camera, but there was a term that we would use to refer to specific, well, it wasn't a racial term, just that, it's still offensive, but it wasn't to that degree. There was a term we would use, and I would use it casually because I thought it was just normal slang. I didn't know there was a derogatory meaning. And I got to campus, and thankfully people in my dorm were saying, hey, wait, you can't say that. I was like, what? But that's what it means. Yes, true, but it's an insult. You need to use these terms. I'm like, good God, thankfully I'm saying that to people in my dorm so they know that I don't mean anything bad. I just don't know that apparently my terminology is like 50 years behind. and I find out other aspects of my life are like 50 years behind. But this is what happened. So and I didn't want to turn this into a whole go to Duke type thing, but since you brought it up, that is one reason why I talked so much and kept repeating, look into these schools, figure out if they're if they provide what you want. Because when I mentioned would I be good enough for Duke, I had no idea how to gauge that. But then when it's time to write the essay, I didn't know what to write. I just said, hey, I love Duke basketball, and I learned these things from basketball, I applied to my life. And I'm pretty sure it was just this in the circle of I like basketball, so I'm going to camp out because basketball is so cool. And that's why camping out is fun. And reading that, you're probably going to be thinking, does he even know how to write? And I close out with, so the admissions officer, his name is Christoph Gutentag. And I had been to Germany before. So I'm like, oh man, that's pretty cool. Did you know you have a cool name? Do you know it means, good day? And I actually met him 2 years ago at an alumni event. And I met him for the first time in person, and I was saying, yeah, I'm glad I got in. Thank you. And he's like, hey, you guys all worked hard. And I was like, maybe the others, but I wrote probably the worst essay ever. I told him what it was, and I said, yeah, at the end, I didn't know what to say. So I said, hey, you have a cool name. He's like, oh, that was you. I was like, wait, what? He's like, no one's ever done that. So you're the only one. So of course I remember you. I was like, well, thank God you enjoyed that and let me in, because that was a life changer for me. So I went from this absolutely clueless, no idea what I'm doing, and I'm, telling the admissions officer, you have a cool name, after probably 4 cycles of basketball is cool, to, okay, now I'm, if you're in my area applying to Duke, there's a chance I would be your alumni interviewer, and like for this session specifically, helping you break down the stuff I know. Hopefully it helps you figure out, do you go to Dominican or elsewhere? If you don't go to Dominican, what do you do? So, I definitely credit Duke for a lot of that growth as a person. A lot of my classmates, the alums, professors, just that environment really helped me grow from, honestly, when I look at you guys, Elias, I'm still in awe thinking, how did I even get into Duke? But I did. And now I'm in a position to say, look, the trails I blaze, hopefully I can pave them into roads and help everyone in some way. Because if you're as clueless as me, hopefully this helps out. And if you're not clueless, well, hopefully, instead of talking about the next 2 years, we're talking about your next, 2 to 4 years, help you look further down the road than I was able to. Because at the time, I literally was like day to day, I could barely even figure out how to get to class on time. So it was a lot of growth, and that's why I keep saying, definitely, as much as you can, figure out what you want out of your experience. And if it's a 2-year program, great, hold to that. And if Dominican doesn't offer it, then go to your other schools. Or maybe you say, you know what, I'm gonna work, or I'm gonna do community college, or maybe the 40-hour study group like Brooklyn was joking about. Just whatever it is, to the highest degree possible, figure out what you want most. I wanted the best academics and the best athletics. I want to go to a place where there would be lots of different types of people, whether it's race, religion, orientation. I didn't even know about transsexuals at that time. So first time I met that, there was a guy called Jeremy, and later became Jessica. And stuff like that. It was just like, oh, okay, well, I mean, Jeremy / Jessica is still the same person. Oh, I should just call her Jessica. Okay, same person, different name, but it's not like we stopped playing basketball. We'd still hang out, and we would just do stuff. And I was always like, yeah, the person that used to be known as Jeremy, now known as Jessica, still a cool person. And well, I got to get my homework done, so it doesn't, it really didn't affect me in any way other than just, hey, Scotty, here's new things. And that's what I wanted. I didn't once consider I want to be in a big city, not yet, maybe later. So going to New York City, San Francisco, Chicago, that was just out the window already. I never once thought I need good weather. I didn't even consider weather, where now I know definitely don't go too far north. But yeah, I barely even thought about what careers there were because I thought there was like 4 careers: soldier, doctor, lawyer, and funerals. That's how clueless I was. So there were a lot of things I didn't consider, but Duke provided everything I wanted plus more. Now, hopefully, all of you are able to consider even more than I did. But you can see at least to the limited extent that I could consider the world. That's how I made my decision, and hopefully this helps you make more decisions than I could. All right, so I guess if anyone has any more questions, since we're 4 minutes away, it's basically 8. I'm gonna go eat dinner and try to watch the game 6 of the NBA playoffs.
Isn't that tomorrow, I thought? Oh, you're
It's
watching the
tonight.
replay.
No,
Oh,
the game is
wait,
tonight.
really?
Yeah.
I thought it was tomorrow.
No, it's tonight.
Oh.
So yeah, and actually after I scheduled this, I was like, oh well, I don't want to change the time on you guys now. But yeah, if yeah, Ian, you're welcome. Here, I'll go and put in my LinkedIn in case anyone wants to reach out some
I
more.
think I invited you already. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in case if you don't have it already. Oh wait, I actually sent to Harvey's
Oh, yeah.
only. Sorry, let me send it to everyone in case definitely feel free, reach out to me. And then there's my phone number. Feel free to text me. Just make sure you tell me who you are and how you know me.
All right.
Because unfortunately I get a lot of random texts saying, hey, you won this prize. I'm like, I wish.
Yeah.
Now just wait until that one time they're like, dude, we've been contacting you for 3 years. Oh, what? That was real? But yeah, feel free to reach out to me. Obviously, I've been mentoring Elias, creating hackathons, and we're building another one coming up. So you can definitely reach me through him if if you don't feel like you quite know me well enough. That's fine. I try to be as open and inviting as possible, but I understand not everyone is casually extroverted to the highest degree like me. So just whatever makes you comfortable. I know some of you would prefer if I'm on Discord, but unfortunately I don't have time. But at least you can go through Elias, say, hey, Elias, can you ask him? He'll text me. I'll get back pretty quickly. But yeah, if you want to reach me directly, LinkedIn, phone number. If you have more questions, feel free. If there's enough people asking the same questions, I'll set up another Zoom call, put it on YouTube. Otherwise, maybe one-on-ones, or maybe just type out a quick answer. And then I won't get off quite yet, but wait, where is it?
Who do you want to win the finals? That's my other question.
I want a game 7.
Really?
After that,
I want
don't
the
care.
Bucks to win.
Well, no, I don't mind if the Bucks win. I just want a game 7. So tonight I want the Suns to win. So there's a game on Thursday.
Oh.
And then the Olympics starts on Friday. So that means, game 6 today, Suns win, Bucks or Suns win on Thursday. And then next day, the Olympics. And after that, I basically just have to wait for Duke basketball. I'll watch some football, but it's not quite the same thing for me. So real quick, my LinkedIn, my phone number, and the YouTube link, because I'm going to go ahead and turn off the YouTube stuff soon. But you can post that, share that with anyone, Discord. But just, if you want to reach me, feel free, hit me up. I'll definitely try to reply as quickly as possible, as thoroughly as possible. Sometimes that might be, hey, let's set up a call, because I would care more about answering your question correctly and properly and thoroughly more than, just give you a quick answer and be done. Because I understand there's a lot of nuances. And that's, like I said, that's one reason why I repeat so many things. I say so many things, because I want you to have a full web of knowledge, not just yes, no. And it's like, whoa, because in that case, you can just Google it, you get general knowledge. I'm trying to say, all right, what I've seen and experienced. Now, generally, if you have a time crunch, let me know and I'll be quick. Just like I said, this time I made sure to allocate a full 2 hours. But usually if you're like, hey, I have a question, I can't answer it by text right away, it might be a 5-minute phone call. And if I say 5 minutes, I intend for it to be 5 minutes. And if you ask more questions, okay, now we're going overtime. But yeah, hopefully that helps all of you understand how I operate. Hopefully that works for you. Yeah. Feel free to ask me anything. And yeah, if we don't connect again, then best of luck with everything. If you're interested in hackathons, or if you want to get involved and add that stuff to your resume by helping build the next one, you can hit me up as well. If you're just looking to study, maybe I can help you find resources or mentors. One of my friends actually does teach computer science. He does tutor in New York City. He can do remote. But yeah, just in general, if there's anything I can help with, feel free to let me know, because you're all coming from, you've done what you could in life, and sometimes things happen. I graduated into the recession, so I definitely want to make sure that for y'all coming out of the pandemic and then having this happen, if I can help out in any way, I'd like to help out as much as possible. And Harvey, if you really do want to talk about Duke, feel free to hit me up. I'll have to be careful not to talk too much, but
no, that's all right. You can talk as much as you want about it.
Sounds good. Eden, hopefully, like I said, just talk to Georgia State as soon as possible, figure out what their deadlines are, and then you can decide, do you wait for Dominican, or you just say, nope, just lock it in and you'll have access to Georgia Tech. Well, check if you have access to Georgia Tech through Georgia State. I remember that they do, but just, double check and make sure it fits what you want. George Trayak, hopefully I didn't talk your ears off. And if I did, hopefully I don't intimidate you too much. I definitely would like to match your rhythm as much as possible. Maybe you're just driving. Maybe you're not the type to talk a lot, and that's fine. I just want to make sure that if you have any questions, you need information, let me know. If you prefer to text and just write things out, then I'll try to do that as much as possible. Even though sometimes there would be situations where it'd be easier to just talk it through, because I can ask questions and get the nuances from you. But yeah, like I said, feel free to hit me up, and best of luck with everything. At the least, all of you are in touch on Discord, the website that they're building for y'all. That should help. So at the least, hopefully that makes up to some degree what you're looking forward to if it doesn't happen. And if it does happen, then best of luck with that.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. All right.